Call the meeting to order. If we'll all stand and face the flag, we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, will you take roll call for me, please?
Commissioner Dipdraw,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire.
Here.
Shaw,
Here.
Mayor Denner.
Here, we have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion on the agenda? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Nothing under appearances and acknowledgement. We'll move down into the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Down into unfinished business. We'll open up a public hearing on application for temporary retail on-off sale malt beverage license, Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce Bacon Bash, September 11, 2021. Do we have anybody here? Let's speak on that.
Eric Hortness, Executive Director of the Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce. Just a quick rundown of kind of what we're planning. Originally, we had looked at blocking off 4 blocks of Egan Avenue, but we were going to block off 2 blocks, the 100 North Block and the 100 South Block. The vendor booths will start at 11 and go until 8 o'clock. We've got approximately 40 booths that are going to be set up on the street. And then with inflatables and food booths, informational booths, all kinds of things like that. We'll have a band from 5 to 8 that will be set up between Sundog and Erickson Law on a flatbed. And then our beer garden area will be between K-Jam and Loopy's. And that will be open from 4 to 8. And I talked with Chief Meyer this morning. He feels comfortable allowing us not to fence off that beer garden area and to allow people to roam those 2 blocks that we'll have barricaded off. This is a pretty big undertaking. It's a new event for us. A lot of help from the city with Parks Department with picnic tables and trash cans. Gary's group's going to be bringing down barricades on Friday for us to set those up Saturday morning. First year for this event, so like I told my board, it's going to look entirely different in 3 years than it will this year, similar to downtown and Madtown. So that's kind of our plan. And with the beer garden area will be from 4 to 8, like I had said previously.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Not hearing any. I will close the hearing. I will move down into item number 1 under new business, approve application for the temporary retail on-off sale malt beverage license, Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce Bacon Bash, September 11, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. We'll back up into item 2 under unfinished business, public hearing on assess rolls for sidewalk improvement 2020. Sign on. Okay. Is there anybody who wants to?
I can just give a quick overview. So each year the city has a sidewalk improvement program that they implement in different areas of town. And each year there's some property owners that are required to make improvements, and the city ends up making them for them. And if they haven't paid the assessment for that, then we put it onto their property taxes on their assessment roll for the year to make sure that we get recouped for those losses. Ryan, is anything else to add other than that? So this is the hearing for property tax, for property owners to speak to their property if they so desire. And if not, then for the commission to move forward. The total amount of assessment is $12,510.05.
Thank you, Jamison. Any other? Not hearing any, I will close the hearing. Item number 3, second reading on ordinance number 1636, amend appendix B zoning ML to HB. Do I got a motion?
Second.
Any comments? Brian, did you have anything on this?
So this is a rezone out in the industrial park. It would be a parcel that's on the corner of Industry Avenue and John Deere Circle. This would create somewhat of a spot zone going from light manufacturing to highway business. However, there is highway business near, and these zones really do commingle. They mesh well. They have a number of uses that are similar or exactly like that. In fact, in the highway business, one of the conditional uses is light manufacturing use. So these do mingle very well. The planning commission thought that this zone would be harmonious to the district, and engineering staff agrees.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any other comments? Not hearing any, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Jamison deems this is an ordinance. It won't go into effect for 20 days after publication. Okay. Item number 4, do I have a motion? Second reading on ordinance 1637 marijuana zoning.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I got a few questions on this one. So, and this might have been for Attorney Jenks, but Jameson, maybe you can help me. Remind me what the urgency is to get this passed through again.
Right, so the state is working through its own process as it's creating regulations, and there's a deadline in place, whether it comes from the state or even from the bill that was passed. I'm not sure, but there's a deadline as far as when cities have to have some of these regulations in place. We can certainly amend after that. We can add to it. We can remove at any point following that. But there's a kind of a deadline that we're pushed up against to get these regulations in place.
So I guess I have a few concerns with this, you know, and I've tried to educate myself as much as possible this weekend and trying to figure out what other cities are doing. And so I've spent a little time watching some of the Brookings meetings and the Sioux Falls meetings. So that this ordinance, in my opinion, is covering 4 facilities that are very different in nature. One is the dispensaries, which is going to be the retail. The second one would be the testing, which ultimately is needed to guarantee the safety of this product. And then there's the cultivation, which in my opinion, the cultivation and the product manufacturing, I guess, where the product manufacturing is more where they convert it into consumable products. for patients. And the cultivation is more of how they grow it. So trying to better understand that, and I kind of see these as two different things, where the dispensaries and the testings, in my opinion, should be limited, and that's the way Brookings and Sioux Falls is going. And then the cultivation and the product manufacturing different, as that be more of a industrial or manufacturing type setting. And the way that this ordinance is read right now is that the cultivation and the product manufacturing would also be limited to 2 facilities in Madison, with dispensaries and testing. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because I see cultivation and product manufacturing that could present, decent paying jobs. It could be, utility revenue, as long as they're done correctly and zoned accordingly. So I think that, I need to have a little bit better education, but I think as the next 2 ordinances are written, that I won't be in favor of them, so.
So I got a question on it. Does this, and you can help me with this, Jameson, this only goes with the dispensary, correct?
Yes, do you want me to take a minute to walk through it a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that. So again, we have 2 ordinances. One is for the zoning of these establishments, and the second is for licensing. If we look at the zoning one, which is the one we're discussing right now, and we break down the ordinance, there's 4 be it ordained clauses. The first 3 all start on the first page, and the 4th one's on the 3rd page. So if we look at each of those individually, remember that what we commonly refer to as a zoning ordinance is a large group of ordinances. It's a large, probably binder of ordinances if you print it out. And so these 4 different ordained clauses would find themselves implanted in different segments of that zoning ordinance. The first one clarifies what I personally believe is already the intended use of all zoning ordinances, but it states that all uses and structures not specifically listed as a permitted use, conditional use, etc., are prohibited. So that means in every zoning district, you've got a list of permitted uses, you've got a list of conditional uses, and if it's not on that list, it's prohibited. This specifically states that. That ties it into the second ordained clause. It calls out the highway business district, the HB district, and lists a cannabis dispensary as a principal permitted use within that district. So that is the one area of town with that zoning district where cannabis dispensaries would be permitted. No other type of cannabis establishment would be listed under a zoning district. Therefore, as specifically stated in the first ordained clause, it is prohibited because it specifically states that there. So then in the 3rd and the 4th ordained clauses lay out how regulation would go for establishments, and so that's found a completely different area of the zoning ordinance as where the first 2 would be. And that is where it defines them. The 4th ordained clause in the 3rd page there, that at the end of the zoning ordinance, you have a whole list of definitions. And so it's just defining things. It doesn't say what happens to them, it just says this is what they are. And that's where, as we discussed last week, you see the difference between a cannabis establishment, which is kind of the overarching term, and then the 4 types of establishments that would be underneath that: dispensary, manufacturing facility, and a cultivation facility and testing facility. And since dispensary is the only one that's specifically listed in an HB district, it's the only one that is not prohibited. Everything else is prohibited by their own absence. So the advantage of stretching it like this is you have the framework to, in the future, as you want, amend, add, remove in zoning districts, which types of establishments you would like or not like to see in town. Kelly is correct in his analysis that right now it only permits dispensaries to be allowed within that one zoning district. And then it limits it to 2 establishments in total. For example, if you would take a cultivation facility and throw it in a industrial district, they would still be limited to permits or 2 establishments total, but they would now be permitted within those particular areas of town. So hopefully that kind of clears up some of the questions we had from the last meeting in terms of, you see all these terms listed, which is because they're listed within our zoning ordinance book, does not mean that it is permitted everywhere in town or even in specific areas. A very, very long answer to your question, Mr. Mayor, but I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
I guess the confusion I'm having is when the gentleman from the audience, Andrew, was talking about it, that we're gonna have 2 dispensaries and one of them can be a cultivation. Is that true under this?
My reaction would be based on the next ordinance, the licensing ordinance, that any establishment could apply for a license regardless of what what type of establishment they are. But there's only one type of establishment that is permitted through our zoning, and that's the dispensaries.
Okay.
And I think based on the state law requiring that we allow a dispensary, we need to make sure one of those 2 would be dispensary. That's my not attorney opinion to this, but I think that Attorney Jackson probably agree with that.
And I should clarify too, I'm in favor of the 2 dispensaries and testing facilities, but I think because I am 26, it's here, you know, and we're not opening ourselves up for cultivation and product manufacturing. We could potentially miss out on revenue.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing any, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? You want to take roll call, please?
Commissioner Dibbdall,
No,
Commissioner Corbin,
Aye.
what was that one? Was that a yes?
What? Aye, sorry, yes, yes.
Wire? Commissioner Wire,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Item number 5. Do I have a motion on the second reading on ordinance number 1638 marijuana licensing?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
There any comments or questions?
The comment that I would make is that, you know, this sets up the licensing for cannabis establishments. How that application process occurs, appeals process, et cetera. I did notice this morning that the attachment to the agenda was the ordinance that was proposed at the beginning of the first reading. And you guys did make the amendment to update the license fee from $5,000 to $1 per capita. So I just probably make a motion, we'll make it noted in the minutes that you are motioning tonight to approve the second reading as amended the first reading. Maybe I flipped the wrong agenda, but okay, just clarify that what you are voting is for the $1 per capita as well. Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Not hearing any, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
no,
Heather, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Dibbdall,
nay,
Commissioner Corbin,
Aye.
Commissioner Wire,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Okay, do I have item number 6? Do I have a motion for a second reading on ordinance number 1639 property tax levy?
Motion.
Second.
Do you want to comment or?
Yeah, just recapping again what we discussed last meeting, since we've pushed our budget deadline back later in the year, we are still obligated to certify the tax levy to the county auditor on or before October 1st. So this is an ordinance to specifically do that.
Any comments, questions? Not hearing any, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. We'll move down into new business. Item number 2, review and award bid to, it looks like Bose Construction, Inc. for $283,587.50 for the LAIC Highway 34 turning lane.
I can give a quick recap of this then. So I've been becoming familiarized with this subject since it's been ongoing since before my arrival here. Typically, you would see the lowest bid be the one that's recommended. This one is a little bit different, so I'll give a quick background. They've been working on this turn lane project to go out on the highway where Runnings is going to be opening up soon. And originally, when it was bid out, it was for fall completion, I believe by the end of September. And we didn't receive any bids back on that process. So we opened it up again, this time saying to contractors, what's your bid price and what's your timeline? So we didn't set deadline on when the completion would be. We had 3 bidders, 2 of them had completion at 2022, and then Bose had completion in this fall year of 2021. Their bid price was about $8,000 higher than the low bid that would have been completed next spring in 2020. Just due to the traffic that we're anticipating out at this new Runnings location, staff would recommend the bid to Bose just due to the timeline of getting it done a lot quicker rather than having it sit over winter and not doing it until next year. In the past, the commission has had this come before you 2 times to approve paying certain pricing on this project. And the second time you upped it to $220,000 is my understanding. And the bids obviously have come in higher than that. And you can all probably imagine some of the reasons going behind that. The world's have been kind of topsy-turvy lately. So it is certainly higher than we expected. I'll let LAIC representatives maybe talk about what I know they're contributing some engineering costs and maybe I details on that.
Thank you, Jameson. Terry Schultz, President of the Lake Area Improvement Corporation.
Floyd Rummel, Secretary Treasurer, LAIC.
And guess I would concur with what Jameson said. Obviously, we've seen project costs are up, and the LAIC believes that the traffic is going to be. We wait until next year. We're going to have a lot of traffic that doesn't have a turn lane. So the LAIC is in support of getting it done, going with the Bose construction bid. Also, we are doing the engineering and the engineering costs are up, and that's going to come back on the LAIC board that will have to take the increased cost in that too. That's what we understand.
We have a motion to review and award the bid LAIC Highway 34 turning lane project to Bose Construction, Inc. for the $283,587.50 for a fall 2021 completion.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
We need a motion where we're gonna get the extra 63,000.
I'm not sure on that. Kasani is not here either. It never hurts. In my experience, we just made the motion and let staff determine where it comes out from the budget. Leave it to your discretion.
Any further comments or question? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Item number 3, discuss and action on installation of irrigation system at Bachman Bellotti Sports Field.
Hi, everyone. So I don't know if anybody got this bid sheet. So I'll just give you a brief rundown. it's been discussed in the past for the last, 10 years about the lack of an irrigation system at our Bachman Bellotti Sports Complex. This year there was a group that got together and they were talking about possibilities of improvements at the Bachman complex. And the number one complaint is that in late June, July, and August, the grass dies. It turns brown, and unfortunately, we can't host state tournaments or any big tournaments in the months of July, basically, because we don't have the irrigation system, and that's one thing that everybody wants. It'll greatly improve the maintenance on the ball diamonds. So I'm here asking for if we can go ahead and purchase the materials. The department would use our labor to install it. Our plan would be to try to put in, weather permitting and staff permitting, the south 3 diamonds. The equipment underneath the ground, we still have to drill a well or tap a main with this supply. So this bid is gonna, and then we'll have to figure out where we're gonna get our water source from. If we're gonna tap the main or drill a well. We've reached out to several well drillers. Everybody knows the current drought conditions, and the well drillers are, if you can get one to answer your phone, you've accomplished something. So I have about $20,000 left in my building and structure. That'd be my 4253 account. And then there's a ball diamond reserve that has $35,000 in it. And, that's 201-70-147-20, and that was intended for an irrigation system, is what it is. Per previous commissioners, that's what they wanted for. So we have about $55,000 in funding right now in the park department, and there is to do the complete complex. If we wanted to, we have 4 options. Number 1 is not do anything about it and live with the way it is. Option 2 is to do the 3 south diamonds this year, which will cost $30,537.80 for the materials. Or do the whole option. The next option is do the whole complex or purchase all the parts and do the complex when time permits and we can get on the diamonds and use them, or when they're not being used. That's right at $53,202.50. So, yeah, open to comments on.
That includes the soccer field. So-
Correct. Soccer fields are included in that.
So everything is gonna get irrigated with that.
Correct.
Just depends on when we can get it in.
Correct.
The other factor would be the water source. As we discussed, you can tap into a water main that's out there. It would be using treated water, which would cost us more to produce. The other option would be having a well driller come and drill a well, just use raw water just for irrigation. If we could do that on site, we don't have a cost estimate for that. I don't know if you have a ballpark on that.
I've heard anywhere from 30, right around 20 to 40 grand, so 30 grand probably. So that would probably be something that will be budgeted for next year in our budget process coming up.
I'm in favor of irrigating all of them. I think if we're gonna do one diamond, we better do them all, in my opinion.
Correct.
I would prefer we just, if we're gonna spend the money, if we have the money, just get everything on hand. And you get done what you can this fall and finish it up in the spring. Time.
What about the well? Wait,
We're gonna have to probably wait on the well.
The well, there's absolutely no way we're gonna get a well drilled this fall.
Unless you give Mike a shovel and tell him to get to work.
Yeah, because well drillers, the first thing they ask you when you talk to them is what time frame do you want this completed? And if you say this summer or this, and they say, there's no way we're gonna get to it this fall still. So.
What's the downfall of tapping the main?
Downfall of tapping the main is that the water is metered and we'll end up paying for that water. This is free water. The positive is of having tap water is anything that's metal that the sprinkler's touching will turn red, probably turn to a different tint of color when we have well water. So if we want to tap the main, our Thuy Flynn complex is currently all irrigated and that is tap water that we irrigate with. It costs us between, on a wet year, 3,000 to, I'd hate to even guess what the dollar amount is, probably gonna be over 10,000 this year. To irrigate,
So-
that's 3 diamonds, and we're gonna double that.
If we tap the main and then next year we run the main and then decide that we want to drill a well, or we get somebody on the books to come switch it.
I would think so. I would, but I mean, I think our water department's pretty handy. They can figure out a way. Commissioner Corbin was kind of emphasizing with the wall.
I'd personally, I'd rather avoid a potential cross connection. But you know, if we can't get a well drilled, yeah, we're gonna have to look at tapping out the main.
I would prefer we do the well as also, but I'm just thinking if we can't get it done for 2 years, at least we can get some water on the fields next year. We had to cross them over.
Yeah, I guess I would echo the fact, I think it's important, and I see the value and the amount of people that are going through that park down there in the summertime is a lot. And so I think it's a quality of life thing. With that being said, is this being looked at in the capital improvement plan? I know there's been a few talks, and it's maybe just been on the street about potentially putting field turf in that Teener baseball field. And if that was ever gonna come to fruition, this might be a waste for that field, for sure, I guess.
At this time, we don't see turf being installed. There has been a discussion, I think, kind of the end result of those conversations is that if we irrigate the field and Mike puts in the work that they put in this year even to it, that the field will be in great shape and it won't need that turf. As far as capital improvement planning goes, yeah, if we're looking at putting some things in next year or the future, we'd want to keep that in the five-year plan.
There is a list of stuff that the group has came together with that they would like to see improved in that complex to bring it up to certain standards. This was the #1 priority, but there are definitely some things that are coming that are gonna have to be addressed.
And from our city side, I'd say that our biggest priority would be ADA accessibility. We feel as a city, as a municipal government, that we need to be looking at those foundational improvements just to make sure that access is granted to everybody in the population. So irrigation and the accessibility are the top 2 things that we look at.
Are we gonna look at the ADA accessibility things in next year's budget?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what the end result will be, but that's something that a conversation we want to make sure continues to be ongoing.
Would completely support that as
Yeah.
well, so. Do we need a motion to move this, or?
We'll have to have something to take it out of the reserve in the past. That's what we always did.
Right, and as Mike said, that reserve is specifically for this improvement, so that wouldn't make sense, but I think a motion would be fair.
I'll make a motion that we purchase all the irrigation equipment that is needed to get all the diamonds irrigated, hopefully by next summer.
I'll second that motion.
Got one question for you, Mike. Do we charge, when we do state tournaments, do we charge?
Anytime that there's a gate being taken, there is a complex fee to use the complex.
And what is that?
$100 a day,
How does that fall into other cities?
just about exactly in the same. Some of them charge by the diamond, but it's only $25 a diamond. The next one's charge. I mean, you can run a mill. There's definitely some areas to look at that could generate some income. If the commission wants to go towards that, they can cross that bridge. We can sure take it to the park board, but that's a whole nother discussion. But right now, I'd say about $100, like that complex. I mean, some of them charge by the diamond, some of them charge by the complex, some of them charge by the tournament. But if they're charging a gate, they're supposed to be paying $100 a day.
So I have a motion and a second to irrigate or buy the equipment for irrigation, and we're taking the 35 out of your reserve.
Yep, and then we'll use 20,000 for my building and structure. So that'll leave me with about $3,500 for the rest of the year for building and structure. So it could be nip and tuck it by the end of the year.
Is there any other comments or question? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. No problem.
Item number 4, discuss the use of ARPA funds to sponsor a vaccine incentive lottery program.
I can just give a quick overview. On a high level view, this is an item that we want to bring up for discussion, just seeing what other cities are doing and to see if there's any desire from the commission to do something similar or not at all, whatever the case is, looking for direction. Some other cities are able to use, and when I say the ARPA funds, that's the newer round of funding, which cities have a direct allotment that's going to be provided to them. Madison's got about 1.3 million, and half of that is granted at the end of this year, sometime this year yet, and then the second half would be a year following that. And these funds are able to be used for vaccine incentive programs. And the example that we have to pull from is Vermillion. I think Blake's partnered with their chamber down there to create a program where anybody who has vaccinated can enter into this lottery type program. And twice a week for 10 weeks, they draw for $2,500 of their chamber bucks down there. And then they also have two $5,000 that are drawn randomly within that time period. I believe their chambers contribute a little bit to the money, and then the city is using $50,000 of their ARPA funds for that purpose. And the intent is to use this cash incentive to encourage people to get vaccinated. And I know we've got a few people in the audience here that might be able to speak to that or have some background in that, but we just want to bring it up for discussion to see what questions or direction the commission may have.
I jump in. I was contacted by Angie from DSU on behalf of President Griffiths to look at ways to increase vaccination in the community and the county. The way I look at it is this is more of a county driven thing. We got people that come in from outside of the county that come in here and work in our community as well. The way I would like to see us do it, if we're gonna do something like this, is to partner with our chamber and take $50,000 of the $1.3 million we have. And put together $1,000 gift cards with Mad Money. And we would draw once a day, 5 days a week for 10 weeks. So we would infuse $50,000 into our economy, into our chamber businesses, but also we would also collect sales tax revenue back out of that on the other side. So I think it's a great way to partner with our businesses, partner with our chamber, encourage people to become vaccinated. We're not telling people to be vaccinated. This is their choice. It always has been a choice. But as we continue to see the uptick in COVID and the Delta variant, things like that, a vaccine isn't necessarily going to stop it, but it sure will slow the process down. And it's something we're going to live with probably forever, unfortunately. But the more people we get vaccinated, I think the better off we are as a community. Personally. Do you want to speak to it at all?
I'm Angie Kaplan with Dakota State University. So when this was brought forward to our attention from USD, part of Clay County, I thought, how could we do something of similar nature here in the city of Madison and Lake County? The way I look at this is it's one tool in our toolbox for our community during the pandemic. And this is a community effort to help our schools, DSU, Madison K-12, but also our healthcare systems, our businesses, and our residents of Lake County. And so if we can do something to encourage the vaccination as a tool in their toolbox, I think that's very respectable. And by utilizing the Mad Money, I think it's a win for the city of Madison as well. So I would encourage your support if possible.
I got a few logistics questions, I guess. I know Don and Lynn, they talked about it too, but if it's a non-resident student, would they still apply for this, or would they still qualify? I guess I should say.
I would say yes, because they're going to be with us for,
Right.
9-10 months. I think and they can prove if DSU can verify their residency in the community. I would hate to exclude people that are gonna be living in our culture.
I know Clay County, yes, the USD students are eligible if they're living within Clay County. And if you are drawing, you have to prove that you have been fully vaccinated. And then you also have to prove your residency. And so DSU is more than willing to prove the students that are living here within Madison.
I know Vermillion was also, I believe, they allow people that already got vaccinated.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, they didn't limit it to newly vaccinated persons, they just, anybody
that
who's been
something
vaccinated.
we would
I would say, yes, anybody that's already been responsible and gone out and been vaccinated, I would need to exclude them from
Right.
something like this. I think it's important that they're included as well.
Okay.
And I honestly think if, kids should be a part of this as well. If their parents can prove that they're living in a household, they're 12 and they're eligible, why would we exclude them as well? In my opinion, it's only gonna benefit.
One concern I do have is these dollars also could be allocated for infrastructure, meaning water, wastewater, sewer, I think, and broadband. So we are competing with that. With that being said, is there a way we could maybe just put a pulse on this and see what kind of people we get out and getting vaccinated from whenever we start the program? Try it for a couple weeks before we dump 50 grand into it.
And I think we could say, we could allocate up to, and then we could say, we're gonna see what the test case is after, 5 weeks, see where we're at. Because what do you have, 28 days from the first vaccination to the last vaccination? Because you should be able to watch the county growth of vaccination on that Department of Health's website. All that material is out there. I'm not opposed to that either. If we don't see where there's growth in vaccination, then we've probably met that threshold of people that will be vaccinated.
I really could go either way. I love the back end of it, having that money injected back into our businesses. So
That's essentially, we're taking federal dollars and putting it back into our
Yeah.
economy. That's the way I look at it as well.
Are you going to ask them to come to City Hall to get put into the drawing, or?
I think that's the way it should be. I think they should have to come in and fill out a card. I was trying to find one of those big, huge wheels that you spin around and you throw cards in, which I found one. VFW has one, but we could just have them register and drop their card in. They're drawn, they just gotta come down and check the city office, and then city office calls the chamber and says, this person is the winner for the day, and send it down to you.
I would add that if somebody is uncomfortable about being in a public place, we'd be happy to work with them to make sure they get everything.
And is this vaccination? I mean, they go out to Lewis, they go to DSU, they go to the hospital, doesn't matter where.
It doesn't matter where you get vaccinated, because you're gonna get a card when you're done anyways, which proves vaccination. Or if you did the Johnson & Johnson, it's one shot deal. I think I look at it from a twofold side. It's one, we're trying to promote vaccination, but two, we're trying to help the economy.
this shows my medical ignorance here, but there wouldn't be any HIPAA or anything crazy dealing with
They'd be
that.
volunteering their vaccination.
Yeah, okay.
After they're done, they wouldn't need to say anything in order to get.
Yeah, anybody could come and hypothetically register. It's when you're drawn, if you're drawn,
Yeah,
that would
If
have.
they don't show the,
Yeah, if they don't prove it, that's your choice. You randomly enter your choice.
Right.
So. You want me to make a motion? I'll make a motion. How's that? Can I make a motion out of this, Jameson? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we allocate up to $50,000 of ARPA funds in the form of MAD money. We will start with $25,000. So that would be 25 cards. We'll do it 25 days. And then 5 weeks essentially, looking at, and then we'll look and examine where we're at. Where that vaccination threshold is. And then if it works, we'll continue on for the other.
I'll second that motion.
Any further comments? Discussion?
Get all that out of it.
Yes.
We got you recorded, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not hearing any, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Is there any public comment out there? Heather?
We'll get
And say Dakota State will help with marketing, advertising and so forth. which-
No, there's not.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you bet.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Announcements. I have one announcement. We are doing our RD project over on Olive, Catherine, and between, what is it, 4th and 5th? Third and 4th of Kansas. We had a small hiccup in the project. We should be back going. You guys should be seeing some more work done on those roads as we move forward. I'm hoping, last time I talked to Banner Cedric, they're shooting for curb and gutter on that portion of the project, hopefully done by the middle of next week, depending on the weather again. But I just wanted to put it out there. We did have a small hiccup. If anybody has questions, please feel free to call either myself or Ryan up at the engineering department. We got a lot of things going on. We also try and get it on our website updated. Sometimes with us being busy here, we don't get that done all the time. So if there's any concerns or questions by the public, please call. Any other announcements?
Question that maybe I should have brought up earlier, but on the sidewalk assessment, we didn't have any action on that. I haven't had experience in this area before. Do we need a motion on that? Let's say hearing is concluded.
I don't have any.
It would worse be able to put it back on the agenda if we have to next week.
Yeah, I can verify that. And we can
I don't think we will. I don't think we will.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Any other announcements? Not hearing any, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you and have a nice evening.